I am in Vietnam. Like, I don't know anybody on this continent. I don't know anybody. I don't speak the language, but I was like, I didn't even try to think about it. I was like, if I think about it, am I faint? Every single time I see myself with this on, it reminds me of, well, if you're Nigerian, you will know like Sele. I just feel like someone from Sele, I swear to God. I got this. This is my first time trying this out. This is Too Faced. Yes, it's a Too Faced. I think it smells like chocolate, so it's so nice. It's a Too Faced bronzer, I think it is. Is this a bronzer? Yes, it's a bronzer, Stephanie. Anyway, hi. This is a very random video, and this is how it's just going to have to be, okay? Because I just, so many things are happening in life at the moment, and I just feel like my YouTube channel has been so neglected, and it's one of my areas of focus that I just feel like I've really always like been letting myself down on. Anyway, so I'm here for a story time. Let me tell you, life has been lifing, as it always does, right? Because that's what life does. But I went to Vietnam, right? I went to a few different countries. Me and my sisters, we had a lovely time. I'm not sure when I'm going to put out this video, but at this point, do I even care whether it's before or after, you know, I went to Vietnam and came back or whatever it is, but whenever you see it, okay? But me went to so many countries, and I feel like the entire trip, like most of the trips that me and my sisters take, was a bit of you know, not a hassle, but like a struggle, right? Especially because of Nigerian passport situations sometimes. So anyway, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to focus on the fact that we went to Vietnam, we went to Bali, and then we went to Singapore, and then we went to Bali. And so the trip was planned in a way that we didn't know whether we were going to get our the visas for Singapore and Bali, right? So it's Vietnam, Singapore, Bali, right? But we didn't know whether we were going to get the visas for Singapore and Bali. So we just said, okay, we'll book our international flights in and out of Vietnam, and then we'll be working on the internal visa. It's not internal because yes, they're different countries, but they're close. They're in Southeast Asia. They're all close to each other. Flights are really cheap to travel between them, about 60 quid, 50 quid. I did 47 pounds. I'm becoming very British. But yeah, so yeah, like it was a no-brainer. I was like, yeah, and I think if we didn't do that, we probably wouldn't have been able to travel, to be honest. So at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I don't really regret that decision. But then the thing is, when you enter into Vietnam for the first time, you have to apply for a visa, and then when you leave, or the way that it worked out is when we left, and then we had to come back into Vietnam again, we had to apply for another visa again. Let me tell you, the thing was just so funny. But anyway, I say all of that to say that it's important to understand why I ended up alone in Vietnam, right? So that was the reason why, because so me and my sister, one of my sisters was leaving earlier, and the other one who was supposed to be spending the last days with me ended up not getting her visa to come back into Vietnam, and so she got stuck in Bali. Mind you, when I'm in Bali, I did a surgery before I left the UK. I don't even want to go into it, but I ended up in the hospital again in Bali for the same sort of issue. And that was it's very painful. Just lots of tears, lots of just pain for days. And I feel like I also kind of ruined it for my sisters as well, because you don't really want someone to be sick when you're on holiday. Yes, okay, you people look after you, blah blah blah, but at the end of the day, like, it's such a massive inconvenience. And the fact that we're spending all that money, right, to come to these countries, like, I really wish that I wasn't so sick and, you know, allowed us to enjoy the holiday more. But I was quite sick towards the end of it. Anyway, so now imagine I'm now about to come into Vietnam. Then we find out that my sister cannot come into Vietnam with us. So I'm going to have to be alone for the last few days when I'm in Vietnam. I'm like, okay, we're still trying to figure out how we can make that work. I go into Vietnam. I did a few things. We went to one of the areas that I haven't been to, and then I ended back in Ho Chi Minh, which is the capital. I think it's the capital. No, it'd be like Hanoi is the capital. I think Hanoi is the capital. Alexa, what's the capital of Vietnam?
The capital of Vietnam is Hanoi.
She was right. But anyway, I went back into Vietnam, did some things, and then came back to Ho Chi Minh. I really like this room, but at the same time I kind of hate it because I'm just like, it looks like a prison. But anyway, this is my hotel room in Ho Chi Ming. I'm here for only God knows how long because I'm still trying to figure out like what I'm doing. It's so funny traveling, and like I think there's a lot of things about traveling that people don't talk about. Like I've had the most stressful week. It's like the most stressful way to start the year in the last few days. But anyway, I just wanted to show you my hotel room. And I'll see how much camera space that I have to vlog the next couple of days in Ho Chi Minh, what I get up to, yada yada yada. But anyway, yeah, stay tuned. Now when I'm in Ho Chi Minh, it's finally dawned on us. We were trying so many things to get my sister back into the country. None of them worked. And the last day, that day, I went out to the immigration people in Ho Chi Minh trying to figure out, can my sister come back? How much am I on? I am on, I don't know, what is the time? 6 minutes. Okay. Can my sister come back into Vietnam? Tried everything. At this point, I'm in immigration, crying, like just, oh my god. Anyway, none of that worked. I'm like, fine, it's okay. I came back home and I was like, just take deep breaths. I'm still very much in a fortunate position. Yes, okay. I realized at that point that my sister has my laptop with me, has a lot of stuff with me. I have a lot of her stuff with me. We just weren't ready to separate from each other, and just chaos, right? So in that time, and I'm like, okay, it is what it is. Like, you know, I'm just gonna have to manage, blah blah blah. I'd already convinced myself. That day, I had some clothes. I started even vlogging. If you want, I'll add vlog. If you see vlog, I was like, I was talking about picking yourself up, doing motivational speaker, like everything's gonna be fine. I'm in Ho Chi Minh. I actually feel really ill. I've had a really, really, really long couple of days. But I leave tomorrow at 11 p.m. I got here last night. I had a bit of a weird day, but I just told myself, like, you're already here. So I was going to stay in my hotel room and just like watch Netflix until I leave, because I'm actually alone in Ho Chi Minh, which wasn't part of the plan when I was traveling. I'm actually physically really tired to do a lot of things that I actually want to do, but I just told myself, like, I'm already here. I'm literally like 14 hours away from home, maybe 16 hours away from home. So yeah, instead of just staying in the hotel and just like watching TV and stuff, like I just decided that, okay, I'm going to actually try and enjoy my experience of being here. I didn't really want to even stay in Ho Chi Minh that much. I just wanted to see what it's like, maybe like go out. That was one of the things I really wanted to do in Ho Chi Minh. I wanted to enter one club in Ho Chi Minh. I wanted to see what it was like, because I heard it's like a party city. And honestly, it was given. It was really, really given. Anyway, so that day, this was the next morning after I arrived in Ho Chi Minh. I'm like, okay, no problem now. Like, it's fine. I'll live. Okay, I said, okay, I had what's it called again? Some clothes that I needed to amend. Yeah, so I'm gonna go and make some clothing alterations. I'm gonna try and find a tailor. And I'm hoping that the audio is gonna be quite bad because I'm in my bathroom and the audio is really, really bad in my bathroom. Let me fix that. Yeah, this is better, I think. So I'm going to go and make some clothing alterations. I'm going to show you the clothes that I have. I literally brought them all the way from the UK because it was going to be like ridiculously expensive to try and do it in the UK. So I was just like, I think I'm going to try and bring it here. It's the last thing that I have to do in Ho Chi Minh. I also want to get my nails done. I did my nails in Hanoi, and it's getting just a little bit old, and it's quite affordable here. I'm hoping it's as affordable as it was in the UK. Sorry, as it was in Hanoi, which is why I got my nails done originally. If it is, then fantastic. But yeah, I think that's sort of like the plan for today. I'm gonna go and see if I can get my clothing alterations done. I'm gonna get something to eat as well because it's 12 and I haven't had anything to eat, and that is not good because I'm taking medication. But yeah, first of all, let me show you the clothes that I actually want to amend. I literally have to show you this. Oh, my head is in the shadows, but this is like the cutest hotel slippers I have seen in a little while. I think it's made of like bamboo or like raffia style fabric, not fabric but like material. It's really cute. There's still the second one over there, but it's so adorable and I'm thinking of nicking them. Anyway, this is the clothes. I don't know if if the what's it called again, if the place is going to be good enough for me to film like me getting the alterations. But this is it. It's very long. See, I'm already out of breath. It's very long on the floor, and this is something that I want to wear like to work, so I can't really wear this and be dragging it on London Tube. And then I feel like I want to cut that off, but also at the same time I feel like the dress was made for taller people, so like this area here is meant to be like just a little bit up because of the length, if you get what I mean. I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it. So yeah, I want to get this up a little bit as well. I'll show you the other one. So there's this other one as well. It's very, the zip is open, but literally I have it at where the zip is closed. This is my body, right? I don't know if that's weird to say. And yeah, it's about here, so it's just a little bit big. And also the boobs area is obviously quite big. I don't have the breastises to fill up that space, so yeah, it has to be amended. I'm gonna try and see if I can find a tailor, and then I'm gonna take it from there. Let's go. Why on my way, right? Mind you, I already talked about how I was very sick in Bali. At this point, I was on a lot of antibiotics, really struggling. Like, I was sick. If I'm going to be honest, I was really sick. As literally as I stepped out, maybe like 2 minutes walk from the hotel, right? There was like another hotel, so it's like public pavement. There was another hotel, and this was post-analysis that I've got me this information. You know, like, because it's not dusty, but like it's outside, so it's not going to be smooth. So there was like black tiles, and I noticed that it just looked like normal road, right? Because people were stepping on it and blah, blah, blah. And I didn't realize until I'd slipped that these are actually tiles. One, kitchen tiles. You know how slippery your kitchen tiles are? Yes, let's start there. Two, someone was cleaning. An old woman was cleaning upstairs. As I fell, I realized, shit, these are tiles. There was water on the floor. There was no signs, nothing, right? These are things that you don't really think about when you're walking. But anyway, and then I looked up. I'm like, I saw this old woman, like, the look on her face. And she was so confused. She was so confused. And I looked at her, and I was just like, God. The pain that I felt in the initial, like, was like, okay. And then I stood up. I couldn't quite walk on that leg. And then I limped. I was like, okay, actually, I can limp. In my mind, this is something that once you limp for a little while, it was going to go away. I got to it. The more that I walked, the more difficult it is, right? This is meant to be a lovely stroll, an opportunity for me to discover, and I'll add the tailors actually. Opportunity for me to discover like Ho Chi Ming, do some stuff. Like, it was all going to be good, like all going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. And I couldn't get to the last tailors. Like, they were all like 5-10 minutes walk with each other. And obviously, like, I live in the UK. Like, we walk all the time. 10 minutes, not like work. Like, the weather is nice. I'm comfortable. Like, nothing. Anyway, I couldn't get to the last destination that I had to go to. Some tailors that I wanted to go to where they were not even whatever. I couldn't get to, like, literally. And I got to that tailor, like, it was becoming even more. I'm like literally, I started praying in my mind, like, Jesus Christ, like, what is going on? And then after I finished with that tailors, I told them, like, okay, I want to go and eat. Again, I was looking forward to exploring all of these things by myself, right? And just like doing it myself, like figuring it out myself. And then I was like, actually, I can't walk. And so I told the ladies, like, okay, I'm going to use this as a eyeshadow, actually, because I can't be asked to go and bring mine. But anyway, I told the ladies that, please just recommend somewhere for me to just go and eat. I don't want, they were like, oh, do you want Vietnamese food? Or do you want like, Western food, they called it, or European food. I was like, anything is fine at this point. Anything, just recommend anything, because I was in a lot of pain. At that point, they recommended this restaurant. I booked another taxi, got to the restaurant, and then and this restaurant is just in front, because I couldn't walk. I had to book a taxi. The crazy thing is, I feel like I'm having the worst day ever, because I literally fell after I gave myself that pep talk of trying to the pep talk of like, oh, you know, I need to go out and try and do something because I'm here already. I don't want to. I didn't even say what was the reason why my trip got cancelled. It's really nice to look outside, but why my trip why I ended up being alone here. Being a Nigerian citizen is such a rough while. Like, you're not only getting issues from your own government inside the country, you're also getting issues outside when you try and do anything with the Nigerian passport. As part of our trip, like, we've been traveling through Asia, and you know, a lot of the Southeast, should I say, a lot of the places are quite close-ish, so it's just mixed, and they have good flights between them. So we just said, okay, let us try and like go to different countries. But then on coming back, one of them, that their e-visa takes 3 days. The visa turned to something else for my sister. So it's just been crazy. By the time I got to that restaurant, and I finished eating, I just sort of kept my legs still. Again, not knowing anything about broken bones, or not bones, but like literally any sprains, injuries, stuff like that. I was like, okay, yeah, it should be fine. Like, let me just put myself together. I'm sure by the time I sit down, after eating, I was there for probably like 40 minutes. I'm gonna be fine and ready to start walking. Why did I finish eating? The food was not even nice. Like, we're going to talk about Vietnamese food. I planned a whole vlog that I was going to do around Vietnamese food. I was so disappointed, but we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, so after sitting down for 40 minutes, I realized that actually I cannot walk. Like, I couldn't. I think maybe it's a privilege, right? There's so many parts of our bodies that we use, and like we don't really understand how much impact these have. And it's such a privilege. So I couldn't walk, my dear brothers and sisters. I could not walk. I couldn't. The pain was like, something about that pain, right? Like, it's just, It was horrible. Like, it was like flat out horrible. And I was just like, oh, I think there might be a problem. Like, literally, the restaurant staff had to literally carry me. Like, they held me like this in my hand. And I was just like, okay, what is going on here? Like, I was in so much pain. And so they carried me. They're like, I think you should go to the hospital. So you need to see somebody about this. I was like, yeah, because my sister was telling me to go back to the hotel, maybe do like a first aid. This was not a first aid issue. Like, anyway. And I usually have like a high pain threshold. So at that point, I'm like, this is a bit of a medical emergency. And I was really lucky. Like, the next hospital or clinic was like literally right in front. Like 2 minutes walking, 2 minutes driving. Sorry, like it was not far at all. So I called a taxi, and the taxi took me to the hospital. We're going to talk about what then happened after I got into that hospital in Vietnam and how the rest of my trip went. But first of all, I'm going to go out because I need to go out. I'm not sure where I'm going to finish the rest of this video, so I'm going to bring my camera with me just in case I might start talking in the car, but I need to run. I feel like this is not the best place to film, honestly, because there's cars going by. But if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it anytime soon. And yeah, I'm literally having to lean in my car. So anyway, I got into the hospital in Ho Chi Ming, and they asked me to do an x-ray, did everything. Thankfully, I didn't have any broken bones or nothing. It was just a case of that I'd sprained my ankles. They didn't do an MRI in that hospital or try to do anything else. They just did a quick x-ray. Literally, the whole thing was probably like 45 minutes overall in terms of like coming in, doing an x-ray. They put ice on it initially, did an x-ray, and they're like, okay, no bones are broken, so it's just a sprain and you just need to give it time to heal. And then eventually they gave me like ankle supports. He was going to give me like crutches, but I was just like, I don't want to take crutches, which is so funny because I feel like that's always been like a constant like in my life. Like every single time whenever I have a big incident, and the doctor, even since I was little, I remember I have like a scar on my hand and I cut my hand, and the doctor was trying to give me like stitches, and like, no, I don't want stitches, just leave me alone. Anyway, I was like a kid. I was probably like 10 or something. So yeah, man, that's how I sprained my ankle and I couldn't walk. And in my mind, I was like, okay, maybe if I go and sleep, I don't even know what I was thinking. I just thought, okay, like it's maybe just a tonight thing, or maybe, I don't even know. And then from that place, I was like, okay, literally, even from the taxi guy who helped me to come out of the taxi to put me into the hospital that first time leaving the restaurant, by the time he came out, I was already crying. I called my sister on the phone. I was crying. I was like, oh my god, I have my... And I think that was what made it so much worse. I think if I had been fine before and then I just sprained my ankle and nothing had been happening, I'd probably been like, oh well, you know, it's just life. My lips are so dry. Let me fix that. So yeah, if nothing else had been happening in that period and I hadn't struggled, hadn't been in hospital before, like if everything was fine, I think I probably would have managed it better. But because literally everything, I was by myself. I was in Vietnam, guys. Like, let's just have the fact that Vietnamese people honestly are the real MVP. Initially when we went to Hanoi, I was just like, oh well, I'm not sure how nice they are, because like we didn't get like, we got like a lot of like a few, not a lot, just a couple of like bad experiences. People are just generally cold or colder, I would say. But I guess it's also a weird thing to go to someone's country and expect them to be nice. But there's just a certain level of warmness that you'd expect that I felt like we didn't get. So I feel like a bird has pooped in my car. So by the time that they, oh my god, this is like the worst place to film. I'm really hoping that this car sound is not too bad. Anyway, by the time that we but I was so sick. I think that sometimes that's always a good way to test like whether or not people are actually like, not like good, but like how friendly people are. If you are in a bad situation and you're in a foreign country, guy, that's how you will know whether the people are nice or not. And people literally carried me. Someone was carrying me because I couldn't walk. Like there was nothing else I could do, so they literally carried me. So the taxi guy carried me into the hospital, like actually called them to put me on the wheelchair in the hospital, and came out. By the time I got to the hotel, like even to get into the taxi, they put me on the wheelchair to get me into the taxi after they put the ankle support and done the x-ray and everything. Get into the hotel, I literally had the taxi guy, I told him, please, you have to go and call the hotel. And like, yes, they don't speak English, but people were so friendly to sort of like a lot of body language to understand like, okay, this person is in pain, this is their hotel, you can see the name of the hotel there. And then they went to reception to call the hotel, sort of like concierge, like, okay, well, someone's here. And then the hotel concierge came, and then they carried me, and everybody was just carrying me. So that night I ended up like, okay, I'm in the hotel room, like they gave me so many medicines. I was so high on like painkillers basically, and I was taking these painkillers, and I'm like, I have like another 2 days. I have another 2 whole days like in this place, like figure out like what I'm supposed to do. And I'm just sitting in the hotel room, and the funny thing is I was in a place in the hotel where like it was, I would say like it was up in terms of like I had to climb the stairs. I literally was in the room that you couldn't access via lift, so I had to trust the concierge to go and like bring my stuff and bring it down and everything. And then after bringing it down, bring my stuff down and like literally, and you know how embarrassing it can be, like sometimes you might even have like underwear and things like this, and like I was just like, at this point, like I don't even care, let them just do whatever they need to do, okay? So yeah, they brought my stuff down, changed my room around, and I was just there. The first night, I feel like I called everyone crying. I was just crying. I feel like I was just very frustrated. And I couldn't leave the hotel room, so I just literally, Vietnam, honestly, I think like a lot of Asian countries are very future forward, and as somebody who you know, I couldn't go, there was like lots of food delivery options. I feel like if that happened to somebody, right, if I think of like my home country like Nigeria, if that happened to a foreigner in Nigeria where you were home alone, right, I feel like you would have to rely, and I think maybe sometimes, I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but you have to rely on people to help you, and people would be willing to help you, but there isn't like the convenience of like, I just went on to, what is it called again, what's the app? I'm gonna have to remember the app and put the app on, and I use the app every day to order food. Just go on, there's like Just Eat and like Uber Eats, but they have their own. So I literally just ordered from there every single day, like morning, literally breakfast. I would ask the hotel to bring me breakfast. They'll bring breakfast to my room, and then that literally the next day, I realized that I had to go to the what's it called again, the tailors, right? Remember, I actually went to the tailors to like give the tailors my clothes. I think people just generally left me alone, which I think it's fine, I guess, but they left me alone, and they were like, okay, if you need anything, let us know. And then I literally just leapt downstairs with one leg. Thankfully, I think the next day I was a little bit better in terms of that. As much as like one leg was broken, I could limp, so I just have to focus on like making sure I don't move the other leg and then limp. So I eventually went to the tailors, I limped to the Uber, and then the Uber, the concierge, sorry, from one side, they see me downstairs, they'll come and carry me to my taxi, and then the taxi took me to the tailor's place, and then I didn't come down from the taxi, and then I literally told the Uber guy, not the Uber, there's a taxi company, I told them like literally call, and then they sent somebody to call them, and then they call. So it was like a lot of like just communication, and people just like, okay, there's this person who's immobile and we need to help her. Fast forward the next day, so imagine this was the first day when I broke my ankle. Then there was the second day that there's the first day when I arrived in Ho Chi Ming and I was by myself, and I was like, okay, let me just settle down. Then there's the next day where I broke my ankle, and I broke my ankle very early. like around 1ish. And then there was the second day I was still in the hotel by myself, and then there was the last day when my flight was actually at like 2 a.m. in the morning, so I was really supposed to be in the airport by like 11. And so technically I still had 3 whole days where I was just there like, God, I beg. I was like, God, please help me, because I don't know what I'm gonna do. And then so I was just sitting there in the hotel room like watching movies, and by the time that I got to when it was time to actually go to the airport, it was so funny because I was just like, we're just gonna have to wing it. And honestly, shout out to my friend who helped me, like literally my sister, sorry, who initially like started thinking of, okay, like medical assistant, and then she contacted my friend, and like they were trying to help me. And so shout out to my friend, shout out to my sisters who were very, very helpful. My sister Chidima especially, like in just like, because sometimes like when these things happen, I was too sick from the painkiller. I didn't even know what was doing me anymore. Was it the antibiotics that I'd been on before, or is it now like painkillers? Like I didn't know. I didn't know what was going on. It was so funny. But yeah, I then got medical assistance, which was like the first time that I ever had medical assistance at the airport. As usual, everybody helped me to put me on to the taxi, and then they told the taxi guy, okay, and he told the guy in Vietnamese for me, he was like, okay, when you get to the taxi, this was the concierge, right? The concierge told the taxi man, like, when you get to the airport, you need to let the people in the airport know that this girl cannot walk and she needs literally like medical assistance. And so the taxi guy was like, okay, no problem, I got you. And that was my G. And I think that I wish that I had more money to give him, and I didn't, right, at that point. But he was my G. Like he literally sat there, waited the entire time with me, and then he was like, no, you wait, they're coming. My taxi driver has left me in his cab because he's gone to look for somebody to help me actually like find a wheelchair for me. And yeah, it's a very humbling feeling not being able to walk and not knowing, like literally having to rely on somebody to move. One that I'm definitely not used to, but like, yeah, only God is going to help me in this airport today, actually. And then somebody came and was like, can you not walk at all? I'm like, no, I cannot walk at all. And then they then went to call someone else, and eventually brought a wheelchair, and then the taxi guy left and let me go. And then from then onwards, I felt like there was not a lot of sympathy in some instances from the airport staff, because eventually like my suitcase was overpacked, right? Remember, because I had my sister's stuff that I was meant to give her, and I didn't have that much baggage allowance, and I was literally on the wheelchair literally trying to like sort out my baggage, which is crazy. And eventually like I figured it out, and then we moved things around. So from that perspective, they probably could have been a bit more sympathetic, and they gave me my luggage to carry between my hand luggage to carry between my legs. And I'm like, there's no space here, personally. I don't know how people normally sit on this thing, but there's no space at all. But I think after then, like, everything was fine. Literally, it was just me and my leg. Like, just, like, literally someone taking me everywhere. They took me through, like, passport control and everything. And then people would, like, the guy, obviously, they assigned me to a person who would take me around and, like, give people my documents whenever I needed to give a document in or stuff like that. So that was nice, I guess, very kind of them to do that for me. I think it really opened my eyes to like what people really struggle with in terms of disabilities. But like when I was in the airport, like people would forget me, right? So when I was in Vietnam, they changed the gates, right, because I was going from Vietnam to Shanghai. So imagine when you have to enter China before you continue your journey. You know, that's how far away from home you are. Literally, they forgot me, like, and they put me, say, like, gate 20, and then gate 20 was saying it was going to Taipei in Taiwan. And I'm like, I'm not going to Taiwan. I know that as a matter of fact. And I sat there and I was like, okay, it's getting to the time of my flight. This dude, and they're starting to board for Taipei, and it's very close. And I was trying to tell people, like, I can't move. Literally, people around me that were there before, that they looks like they were going to China, to Shanghai, they were already like, yeah, this is the wrong gate, like, we're going. And then the guy try to call people for me, and they literally just forgot me, like, in my wheelchair. And I'm like, guy. So it's things like that you don't really think about, right? The frustration of like being there and not being able to move your body. Wow, that was something. And even like using the bathroom, right? Little things like, oh, you need a disabled bathroom. Hello, excuse me, because you need to have that whole wheelchair in the thing. You need to be able to hold on to something to lift yourself from the wheelchair. It's things like that I never really thought about. And even now, whenever I go around like London or anywhere, and I'm like, there are no stairs in this, there are no lifts in this place. The escalator is not working. If somebody cannot move, like, how how sometimes some stations don't even have escalators. Like, it's crazy. It's really crazy. So that really opened up my eyes to a lot of things that people who have disabilities struggle with. And then when someone finally came and then took me to the right boarding gate, and then they left me there, and then I boarded. And then it's so funny because you then need another special wheelchair to go onto the plane. So like from my wheelchair, then I have to go into a plane wheelchair which can go in through like the aisles, and then from the aisles. So it was just interesting. They allowed me to go into an area that I had more space, because my feet was so swollen from that flight. It's because like literally in the hotel, like my feet was up the entire time, right? Because you need to keep your feet elevated. And from my flight from Vietnam to China, it was almost as if I had elephantiasis. I didn't even take a picture of it. It was very bad. And then I was like my toes were so swollen that like much later, like a few days later, when it started to come, that I could see wrinkles. That's how bad it was. Like, it was so swollen. And I was like, I literally told the flight attendant before we started from the flight from Shanghai to London that if I don't sit somewhere where I can put my leg up, I feel like my feet are going to burst. And I couldn't even because I had compression socks. I couldn't even put compression socks on because anything touching my leg was just like, oh my God, it was just way too painful. And my feet were already too swollen, and it was just going to be too difficult. So thankfully, they didn't take me to first class, which, whatever. But they did take me to somewhere where, just in front of, before you go into business class, where you can sort of put your feet up. And yeah, it was just something, right? And then coming back into England, my friend as well, Joyce, like, she came to like pick me up, and I think that was really helpful as well, just having some, because I didn't even realize that, sometimes like when you haven't experienced a certain type of difficulty before, that you just like, I was like trying to figure it out. Like, it didn't occur to me that, okay, well, you live in a block of flats and there are no stairs, and if anything happens to you, literally, how are you going to get up? So we had to go to the hospital in England when I arrived. The wheelchair, I would say the wheelchairs in England are so much better, that I will say. So yeah, I think that was such an interesting experience. I think even in the moment, I just tried not to think about it too much, in terms of that I didn't even want to think like, okay, like, because when you really deep it, I was just like, I am in Vietnam, like, I don't know anybody on this continent. I don't know their father. I don't know anybody. Like, nothing, right? Somebody can come and treat me in my room, and then that's it. Okay, that's too dramatic. But like, I was like, I don't know anybody. I don't speak the language. But I was like, I didn't even try to think about it. I was like, if I think about it, I might faint. So yeah, was it scary? Absolutely. But it's just, oh, someone is parking behind me. Whee! Anyway, is it scary? Yes, absolutely. But it was just one of those things where I was just like, it is what it is. When I came out from that flight, I was just like, I'm not going on holiday again. And then see me, last week I just traveled. I'm fine now. I'm still getting like final sort of like medical help, I guess I can say, from like with regards to my knee, and like with not my knee, sorry, with my ankle, just to make sure that I haven't done any severe damage to anything. And yeah, hopefully that the answer to that question is no. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm gonna post my vlogs about Vietnam before I fell sick. So yeah, if you do stumble upon those vlogs, please feel free to watch them, support, like, share, all of that stuff. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I shall see you somewhere in this space sometime soon. Bye.